Frozen in this moment, the last, and I know it. Think about the winners with hands with the coldest. Think about handout, shit, you're still growing. Think about the world, how we didn't even notice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, how are things? How you doing? Hope you're tuning in our way as quickly as we can. We're about to go live. We are now live on Facebook. So if you're tuning our way, you can catch us on Instagram. You can catch us live on Facebook. And you can catch us live on LinkedIn as well. Today, I'm joined by the best dressed man in the entire Munster, I'd say. Honestly, he's showing me up. I think I should have wore a suit and tie today. One of his, because all I do is buy his suits. So if you ever see me in a suit, you know where you get it from. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege, and thank you so much for doing this. He's just back open in his shop. Welcome to the podcast, and welcome to Cabin Fever, Mr. Andrew Rea. Andrew, how are things, my brother? How are you getting on?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Hanging in there, brother. Hanging in there. Up in the attic, like, what's your one? Anne Frank, making loads of noise.
Nice. That's a nice image for everyone.
That's a great image, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tell you, I have no idea what's behind these curtains at this stage. I've been up here now quite a while, and I'm only waiting for herself to come behind the curtain and tell me to shut up.
But does anybody do any of your neighbours question why your attic looks like the red light district? Or is that, no?
They just say it's Terence at this stage.
Right,
They're pretty happy. They're just, go on, let him away. He's bound to be doing something stupid, like. So how's life with you, my friend? How did you enjoy things? Did you enjoy retirement for a little while?
No, I did not. No. No, look, obviously, a bit of time off. Everybody enjoys a bit of time off, but 3 months is excessive. And like if I ever take holidays from work and time away from work, the shops are still operating, businesses are still running, there's still an income coming in. You're not necessarily worried about bills and expenditure. Whereas this time, we had overheads, we had bills, we had expenses, and we had zero income coming in. So, that's tough to deal with. So as much as you love family time at home and, going for walks in the sunshine and that kind of stuff, it's tough to swallow.
Yeah. You know what? It's hard to say because it's a headache that you don't want to have. It's a headache you have when you're open, but it's an even bigger headache to have when you're not open and you still have the same bills every week coming in. And most people thought that, it's grand, we'll shut up all the businesses and they'll be all fine. They'll have no bills, still got ESB, still got all that type of stuff. Like what they're going to do going forward, I have no idea. Like you're getting constant letters, whether revenue are going to help us or whether the government are going to help us or if anybody's really going to help us or they're just going to let us away with it.
But they don't know themselves. So that's the thing. I mean, to me, they got to look. Nobody saw this coming. To be fair, they were blindsided by it. It's a difficult thing for them to have to deal with when they're catering for the entire country. They're not just worried about my business. But without getting too political, they failed the businesses of this country miserably, in my view.
100%.
They did nothing to limit, cap, or even help the cost of running the businesses. Granted, look, if you laid your staff off, there was the COVID-19 payment. The businesses that were still operating were able to go onto the wage subsidy scheme, which in itself was questionable. But really, when it comes to it, we still had to pay rent. Our building was closed for 3 months. We got a break on rates. That was the only positive thing. Our VAT bills, we don't have to pay the VAT bills now, but we do have to pay them.
Yeah.
So, if you have the money, you can spend it on something else, but then they're going to come looking for it in 6 months or 12 months and you have to find the money again. So that's really of no help.
Yeah. It's really kicking it down the road. It's just kicking the can down the road. Yeah. There's no major help. Like if they had turned around and said, right, like I know there's talks, all right, to make sure that all commercial premises don't pay rates for 12 months and turning VAT down to 0 or 2 or 3% for businesses affected. But like that's not an answer either, though, to be fair. Like if they come up and they lower the VAT rate and they give us a break on rates, like personally, I hate paying rates. It drives me absolutely bananas because in my business, I don't get nothing for my rates. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't get nothing. Like you're in a car park, basically. You're in a warehouse. So you don't get nothing. Like you don't get a footpath perfectly made outside your premises either.
No, you don't. But
do you know what I mean?
Look, the thing with rates, it contributes to the road network. It contributes to the cabling coming into the park. You have your water coming in. Saying you get nothing is probably a little bit extreme. You don't get a huge amount for it, and you definitely don't get value for money. But our industry is it's different to yours and different to quite a few because we pay 23% VAT. We were never lucky enough to be on 9%, and then that increased to 13.5% for the other businesses, and that closed some businesses. It was such a huge hike. But virtually a quarter of what we take in, we hand over to the revenue department. No, everyone has to pay tax. I understand that. There's plenty of reasons for paying tax. But they're talking about reducing VAT rates for the hospitality sector. They're talking about doing this, that, and the other for the hospitality sector and for the farming industry, but nobody has mentioned retail.
I'm in the same bracket.
so-
I pay 23% as well, my brother.
Yeah,
I hate it just as much as you.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's serious money. And then look, I mean, like we're contending with online shopping and, you know, imports, and that, you know, it's virtually impossible to compete with that on a normal day or a good day.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Leo announced earlier that the hair salons and barbers, they're all opening, beauticians are all opening now on the 29th, which is fantastic. And it's great to see industry coming back. All of their customers are still there. They've all you've all the guys and girls have been waiting for the best part of 3 months to go back and avail of those services. Whereas for us, all of our customers are gone because weddings, well, they've bought online, but weddings are cancelled, communions, confirmations are cancelled, and there's no business networking groups. There's like accountants and solicitors aren't even meeting their clients face to face anymore. So the need for men's formal wear it's gone until probably the end of this year at the earliest. Now, you have some weddings on a smaller, you know, the smaller size weddings are still taking place, but there's still a little bit of ambiguity as to whether they can have music or DJs or bands and what they can do, and the social distancing has to be adhered to in the hotels and all that kind of stuff. So the uncertainty in our industry is mind-numbing at the moment.
Yeah, we can say the same, because I was saying to you there off air, like we, as in the pub trade, we don't have a clue what's going on. Like, I'd love to know where everyone's getting all these requirements and restrictions saying that we have to be in for 90 minutes and your name has to be taken and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the last email I got from the Vintners Association there was, we're still waiting on the restrictions.
Yeah.
You know, so where all this information about we need this, that, and the other is coming from, I'd say it's all fairly hodgy-podgy stuff. No one knows, which is even harder, but no one wants to take the risk to sort of get things going either, you know? Like, things aren't going to start, like a car doesn't start unless you put the foot in the pedal, like.
Yeah.
And we need someone to come along now and put the foot in the pedal realistically, like.
Yeah, but I mean, but you're even starting the same as we opened on the 8th of June. And they said to us we were going to be phase 2, small retail. We weren't in a shopping centre. We were going to be phase 2. But at the same time, when they were saying you're going to be phase 2, which is June 8th, they also said, but we're not going to confirm it until the 5th of June. Now, we had laid staff off that we needed to rehire. You know, you have to come in and do stock takes and order in some stock and freshen up the shop. And you had to, like, it was outside of all of our distance for travel, but we still had to come in and put up the Perspex screens and put down the distance markers on the floor and get the hand sanitizer and do all the work at the shop that we were doing, even though we weren't allowed to do it. And then even if you took the risk and went and you did it all, you still didn't know if you were going to be allowed to open or not. So we had 2 days notice as to whether we could open or not. So like we had lined up some of the staff and we had said to them, we're probably opening, but we can't guarantee that we are not. You know, that's not fair on anybody.
No, it's not. And that's the problem. Like they're telling us the 20th of what we are now, June, July, but I haven't a clue. I'll be happy pouring pints before Christmas at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it could be Christmas, it could be New Year. I have no idea. They're telling us the 20th of next month. Now, all signs are pointing that everything is going ahead and things are getting a lot quicker. But I don't know, man. We'll have to just wait and see. We have to wait and see what the restaurants are going to do, see how they fare out. And then it's us. I'm kind of happy in a way that we are almost a month behind the restaurants because like I don't do any food in my place. But it allows us to kind of learn what's happening in the restaurant industry to see how they're faring out, you know, because like if you're going to hear it straight away after two weeks of the restaurant business, if they're having a tough time of it, they're going to turn around and say it. We can't do business this way. So it kind of leaves the vintners and the publicans sort of that little bit of extra time to find out what works and what doesn't work, which is great. Yeah,
but I mean, like it's the huge divide. I mean, I was listening to a local radio station here during the week. I think it might have been yesterday, and a pretty serious publican that's been around for a long time was, you know, he's opening a couple of his bigger venues. He's all excited about it. They're going to stage. They can have, you know, 200 sitting at 7 o'clock and 200 sitting at 9 o'clock and 200 sitting at 11 o'clock, and they do the bit of food so they can get up and running, and that's great. And then on the other side of it, there's another quite a major publican from Cork who's just come out and said he's not opening any of his premises.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about.
You know, so you're saying, I mean, you have, that's a lot of people that are not coming back to work.
Yeah.
You know, the kick-on effect from their wages going back into the economy, none of that's going to happen. You know, so now whether you should or shouldn't open is down to every individual business owner. But I mean, I can understand, like, opening a business if you don't think you're going to do any trade at all is a very difficult decision. Now, we've come back to work, and I know other people in my industry we've all reopened. I don't know of anybody that actually hasn't reopened. But we have no idea what we're going to do. So we've set ourselves some targets. Being honest, we made them up. For the first time in my life, I couldn't calculate a target. We just invented one, very conservative one. And we didn't quite do it last week in our first week back, which was a little bit disappointing. It looks a little bit more likely we'll do it this week. But then we're kind of saying, sure, the target isn't worth its weight anyway, because it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this is our peak season in this industry. This is peak wedding season. You should have debs and grads. You should be just finished with communions and confirmations. Your shop should be busy. I mean, Saturdays, like last summer, Saturdays, everybody that worked for us was working, including myself and Connor, my business partner. We were all at work. I mean, we could have 6 staff in the cork shop on a Saturday. You could have a queue for each of the fitting rooms. We have 5 fitting rooms. There'd be a queue for each one of them. It was mayhem in here. No, it was fantastic. I mean, we trade from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, and take you an hour or two to clean up and restock the shop. And now, I mean, the shop is glistening. We're kind of looking at each other, wondering what's going on, and then when a customer comes to the door, there's always an argument between the people working as to who gets to serve them, because we're so fed up with talking to each other.
That's the way it is. But you've got to look at it the other way too. People, like, there's still a lot of people out there that are very scared,
completely. I mean, like, I know, like my parents are in their 70s. My dad has Parkinson's. They cocooned and isolated for almost 2 months. They didn't step foot outside the gate of their house. The golf clubs reopened, so they started playing a little bit of golf. I had been doing their grocery shopping. My mother has started to do a little bit of grocery shopping here, there, but she's nervous. She's going down to Super Value, and she's nervous going in there. And it's not so much like what I found over the kind of 3 months was, you can be as careful as you want, but you're relying on the other people to be very careful too. And that's where the problem arises. I mean, I was quite diligent with my social distancing. And if somebody wasn't, if I was standing in a supermarket and somebody stood next to me to grab something off the shelf in front of me, there's nothing I could have done about it. They just didn't respect my space, which, I mean, it's difficult to say anybody's right or wrong, but I would have preferred if they did.
Like, when you're sitting at a bar and someone sneezes on you now, you won't be going, "Oh, bless you." You'd nearly be punching them in the head. Like, do you know what I mean? And this is the problem. Like, I don't know how it's going to, like, man, it's hard enough to keep drunk people apart at the best of times. I don't know how we're going to do it now. Like, out with a measuring tape, trying to keep everyone 2 meters apart.
But I mean, nobody's going to wear masks because they're drinking. But then, face shields. Everyone can just put on a plastic face shield. Tilt it up to take their little drink.
Can you honestly imagine that in Ireland, in Irish pubs around the place?
No, but I mean, look, I guess that's their reasoning behind no live music and no loud music, because they don't want people leaning into each other to talk and listen to a conversation. Now, I mean, how many musicians out there have no idea when they're coming back to work? An awful lot of us had an idea as to when we were going to come back, be it phase 2, 3, 4. But I mean, there's some industry out there still have no idea. They don't know if it's going to be this year. They don't know if it's going to be next year. Nobody has the first idea. Nobody's telling them anything at all.
Yeah, like I've lost personally myself. I've lost 20 weddings this year because of the COVID. Do you know what I mean? And like, all right, fair enough. Now they've rebooked and they've put on to next year. But like, them next year bookings are taken by this year's bookings. Yeah. So it's not like, do you understand? Like, we're not making. It's fine to say, oh, well, it'll be next year. It'll be fine. But you're losing the money on next year. Because you're getting it from already this year,
it's what we found. Obviously, no, I mean, you're effectively losing an entire season of trade, for the most part. Now, what we have found for next year is that there seems to be a considerable higher amount of weddings on Thursdays, and now there's some popping up on Wednesdays as well. And so we'll recoup some of them next year. That but the biggest problem is anybody that had to postpone their wedding, and it must be a horrific thing to have to do, because the amount of different people you've to rely on being available on a certain date, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, the amount of people we've spoken to, their venues available, but the band weren't, or the band were available and the venue wasn't. So I mean, it's trying times for everybody. Yeah,
very much so.
It would be.
We've got to worry, right? We can talk about COVID. I'm sick shit of talking about COVID, right? We're going to get into suits, right? We're going to get into suits. This is what we're talking about. Man, I tell you what, there is nothing like the feeling of a fresh cut suit on you. Like, when a suit fits you, man, it's just a dream. And that's why I could never buy a suit online. I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned or something like that. A suit, you have to be fitted in a suit, like. Do you know
Absolutely. What I mean? And look, I mean, it's the difference. Like, even places like Dunn's and Penny's and Marks and Spencer's, they sell suits, but they don't have trained staff there to fit you in the suit. Just because you're a 38 regular in a suit jacket doesn't mean that every 38 regular in the shop is going to fit you, because like looking at the walls here, I mean, I have probably 16 or 17 different cuts of 38 regular jackets. You know, some are slim, some are fitted, some are tailored, some are cropped. You know, there's such a variety of sizings and fittings. You know, like we have tailors on site, and the reason we have tailors on site is because a suit should be tailored to fit you. The days of just, you know, you can order something online, the legs will be too long, the sleeves will be too short, the bridge across the back of the jacket isn't going to fit you, it will be too narrow, too broad for your shoulders. You get puckering and overhanging, that kind of stuff. So you need somebody who knows what they're talking about to fit you into the suit initially, and then it needs to be tweaked slightly to fit you. It's very, very rare or seldom that somebody can come in and as good as we are, you know, you can get them into something that fits them really well, but it's very rare that it's perfect. And hence the tailoring. So like we have an online shop. The only reason we ever even built an online shop was to just keep up with the Joneses. Other people were doing it to stay high in the Google searches. It's expected that you have it.
Yeah.
We actively discourage people from using it. Now, we have some existing customers and they'll buy shirts or ties or shoes and that kind of stuff. They're a little bit more standard. And once you've been fitted once in a shirt, you can repeatedly buy the same shirt. That's slightly different to suit shopping. So yeah, I mean, these English websites that are horsing clothing into the country for cheap money that you can return for free if it doesn't fit you, that kind of thing, it's doing untold damage to the industry. But then any core suit shoppers, like business people that wear them or people that are quite particular about them for the weddings and how they fit for the photos and that kind of thing, you have to go into the shops and try them on.
Definitely. 100%, man. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. When a suit fits, like you almost feel powerful in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can look down and you go, yeah, man, I feel good. Do you know? It's like a fresh haircut and a fresh suit, man. There's not too many feelings.
Well, I don't know much about fresh haircuts now. I'm waiting on mine. June 29th, I'll be outside my barber.
I can tell you mine's fresh, man. I needed to get it, as I was saying. I had curlies. I was like Goldilocks. I had curls growing. My back hair was nearly meeting my arse hair, meeting my top of my back head. Do you know what I mean? It was getting very, very bad. Right. Nice. So, Andrew, how did you manage to get into selling suits? Go on, tell everyone how this came about.
It was back around 2006. I was working for a guy in a different industry entirely. And he decided, he was kind of in the rag trade a little bit, and he decided he wanted to open a suit shop. So myself and he employed a few other guys, and we all got together and opened a shop for him, grew his business. And then kind of back in 2012, I just decided I could do it, you know, arrogance. I could do it better. I could do this better than you. So myself and a guy that I was working with at the time, Connor, we just kind of had a chat one night and said, you know, it's grand to sit here and say it, but maybe we should go and do it. So we did. We started planning and took the building and started sourcing stock and renovating and that kind of stuff. And off we went. We had a fairly interesting start. We had sourced product directly in Turkey, through an agent in Turkey, and turns out that he was a bit of a crook, and we were ripped off. So our initial €60,000 investment went up in smoke. So now, in hindsight, it's kind of a random thing to say. It was actually the best thing that could have happened to us, because had we been bringing product in directly from Turkey, we would have been limited to bringing in a huge amount of the same thing.
Yes,
because obviously you rely on volume to bring prices down and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when all of that money disappeared, we ended up scrambling and kind of borrowing money off family and friends to get up and running. We sourced product through the UK, but from the UK, but through agencies in Dublin. And so, you know, more local, we could go and meet this guy. And, you know, we found a few suits that were really good, and we could buy 10 of it. And if we wanted more, they had them all in stock. So we were able to, now it was more expensive for us to do it that way. But we were able to bring in a much bigger variety of suits for the money that we would have spent sourcing directly.
I thought I was the one with the bad luck, but Jesus, that's a serious.
Yeah, no, but look, I mean, we haven't really told many people that story until now, because I'm telling your entire audience. But you know, 7.5 years on, like you're going through this pandemic, and you know, we're facing into a recession, and you're kind of thinking, what do we learn, and what can we change, and what we grow? And when you think back, like, it was a mistake. Like, we didn't do our due diligence, we didn't look into the agent properly. He caught us. two stupid Irish lads got caught by the crook in Turkey. But in hindsight, it was the best lesson we've learned in business. Because we've learned to do our due diligence properly and to actually look into every avenue of any deal that you're going into. But it introduced us to some of the brands, and we still stock these brands that we've built our business on. Now, with one of the brands, Scopes, it's an English brand, we very quickly became one of their biggest customers across Ireland and the UK. Our initial order with them was about €10,000. And I mean, we've just grown exponentially from there. So, I mean, we do huge business with these guys. I mean, they do a great range of business suits, and they do a few kind of casual jackets and injections. Like, this is actually one of their jackets. So we've learned the hard way, but also in a great way to focus more on what we're doing. Yeah. So, I mean, it just opens us up for us now as well. I mean, this is going to be a slow burner. I mean, trying to get past this COVID pandemic is going to be difficult, but we're confident we'll do it. And we're confident then that, when we're still here next year will be a better year. And then you kick on again from there.
And you guys recently opened another shop all the way down with the Kerrymen down in Killarney. How was that working out?
Recently, 4 years ago almost.
Is it 4 years now, is it?
It'll be 4 years come October.
Jesus, I still remember the first day you opened that.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to say, Jesus, it hasn't been a year and a half yet or something like that. 4 years.
4 years.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's
well done.
No, different market. Different market entirely. Obviously, the market is much smaller. And even with that, like we had researched that, and we were confident we would do well down there, because there was nothing really similar to what we were doing. That there are other clothing stores down there, and there are formal stores down there, but not quite like us. Not with the same business model, and we're not in the town centre. We've got free parking at the door, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's year one was slow and quiet, and you have to become established, and people don't quite trust you because you're new and you're blow-ins. But we always had local staff running the shop. So as much as it's owned in Cork as such, it's run and staffed locally. And I think that made a huge difference. I remember the opening week we were down, that there was a lady came in, and she said hello, and I said hello, and she heard my accent, and immediately she was, where are you from? Yeah. So I said Cork, and I said it quite tentatively, and what are you doing down here? So I smiled, and I was like, I'm only here to say hello. So I got the staff, and I mean, and she's still to this day, she's a great customer. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, it's funny, like we were kind of talking about opening a third shop now. We were looking at a few premises up the country, and then this happened. So the third shop, it's on the back burner again. But again, look, that's only time. We'll be back there again.
Yeah, that's a great mindset to have, man. What doesn't kill you make you stronger, like.
Yeah, but look, everyone's the same. I mean, you could have closed up and just said, no, I'm not going back to it. Yeah. And then what you do, you go and you work for somebody else, or you take a job in a supermarket or something that it pays the bills and it keeps you going. You have that little bit of interest, and that's great. But I don't know. I would have always thought I was quite an ambitious person. So I'm still ambitious. I still have goals that I haven't, gotten to, and I'm determined to get there now. It's now going to just take me longer than I thought it would. But you're
getting there.
Yeah, no.
You can't give up on them though, and that's the thing. Like even everyone is saying there, oh God, COVID is going to kill business, is going to kill this, is going to kill that. If we only we can let it actually kill our own businesses. But
you see, business starts somewhere. Like before Simply Suits opened, so we opened in Cork in December 2012. Before we opened, we were doing no business because we weren't here. 7.5 years later, we were doing a lot of business. Things were fantastic. COVID-19 has put us on our arses, but now we're just saying we're starting again. Now we're actually in a better position to be starting again from zero. Like, we have no income, but we're starting again. But our shop is full of stock. Yeah, we have a huge variety of stuff. We have some great staff that we can call on and rely on. Whereas we didn't have that back in 2012. So you can sit down and you can say, oh yeah, COVID-19 closed my business. Tough. I'll go do something else, or I'm going to stay at home for a while. I've had enough time at home. I had 3 months at home, and I love my family time, but Jesus, it was time for me to go back to work. It really was.
I know. Look, as I have always said, and loads of business people we've had on here, a sample of what retirement will feel like. You know what I mean? But I think there's even me. I work a lot of days of the week, whether it be DJing or in the pub or somewhere else doing other bits and pieces. It's hard to shut off if you're not that type of person. If you're a get up and go person, there's a lot of go in you. And like someone turns around to me, how many hours do you work a week? And I say, when I get up in the morning until I sleep at night, that's when I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
something all the time. It mightn't be so obvious to people that I'm actually working, or so obvious that I'm actually even doing anything, but we're still doing something all the time.
Yeah.
I could,
Yeah.
like, I'm speaking for myself. I couldn't do a 9 to 5. There's not a chance. I'd lose my mind. I genuinely would lose my mind. I would probably die of a heart attack with no stress. That's what, honestly, that would happen to me. I need the stress for my heart to pump that little bit farther to keep me alive,
Yeah, but
and
then,
all the worry and
that's all
stuff.
about. But it's about, like, for me, it was about goal setting. Like, I always wanted to be my own boss before I turned 30. Now, I did it by one day. We opened the shop one day before my 30th birthday. Goal achieved. Like,
Yeah, amen.
that's it. Like, I have some people that I know, some family members, bits and pieces that are all quite successful, and I'm kind of thinking, I want to be more successful than you. And
Yeah.
not only do I, like, I mean, if you're earning X amount of money and you've got X amount of property or whatever you have at the age of 45, I want to do it, but I want to do it by the time I'm 44. And whether I do or not, I don't. Obviously, I want to do it, but if I don't do it, I'm not going to lie down and cry about it.
Yeah,
But it's about
yeah.
having that goal that drives you forward for it.
Definitely, 100%, man. And that's, what, I'm the same. When I was 16, I told everyone I'll be retired by the time I'm 40. And I've got, 8 years left, and I think I'll probably miss that. I definitely think I'll miss that.
I would say
if
I won the Euro Millions this week, I wouldn't retire.
No, I would be the same.
Like,
You need something.
now, I'd play a little bit more golf and, probably drive a nicer car and maybe have a bigger house, but there's no way I'd retire full time.
Yeah.
I'd lose my mind.
I'm the same. I'm genuinely the same. Like sharks. That's what he call people like us. If we stop, we drown. Got to keep moving. That's what we do. Right. You've had a couple of interesting people into your shop. You had John Kavanagh. What was that like? How did that come about? How did he come up?
So one of the guys, now Matt doesn't work there anymore, but one of the guys that was working in the shop was into his MMA, and he trained in the gym. Chain belonged to Kavanagh, and so that's how he got him in. It was just one of these things. I got a phone call. Matt rang me saying, "Look, John Kavanagh's coming down. We can get him in. What do we do?" So obviously we jumped at it.
Definitely.
He's an interesting character. I mean, so down to earth. Because at the time as well, McGregor was kind of at the peak of his career. Everything was amazing, and like Kavanagh's training camps were phenomenal, and he was such a big name in the industry and in the sport. So, but when he came in, and he waited. Like, he waited until the customers were gone to have a chat and that kind of thing. Really, really good guy.
Yeah, he's like, I've never met the man, but I've heard from people that met him, and like he says he just carries himself so well, so professionally. Like, he doesn't barge his way in. He just sort of, he's a background character, and he plays that role very, very well. Like, you can see that even with McGregor. Like, you wouldn't know John Kavanagh is McGregor's trainer. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean that's the thing, because McGregor obviously, he went through different training camps and he went to different trainers for different fights and bits and pieces. But Kavanagh was always there. But as you said, you literally wouldn't have known he was there. He did his job. He made sure his fighter was ready, but wasn't looking for the limelight and wasn't looking to step into the spotlight to steal some of the thunder. Yeah,
no, definitely. Where most people would. Most people would be like, I'll have a bit of that now, thanks very much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll be like, I definitely need a piece of that. But has McGregor helped the suit industry?
It depends on the customer base you're referring to. What McGregor did is he brought a new base of customer looking for suits. You had the younger guys into their training, into the little bit of fighting. McGregor looked really sharp in the suits, and they were like, "Oh, I'm getting a suit like McGregor." The difficult thing with it was their income levels in comparison to McGregor's were vastly different. So they were coming in looking for McGregor's custom made $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 suit, and they only wanted to spend 150 quid. So now some of the manufacturers actually responded quite well, and they started producing suits that you could sell at kind of 170, 180, 190 quid down the same line. But then McGregor stepped it up, and he got this pinstripe suit, and the pinstripe said, "Fuck you down," this kind of thing. And then you've guys coming in going, "Oh, do you have that?" And we're like, "No, like it's not. It wasn't even remotely commercial. There was no way anyone was going to stock it, but that's what they wanted." So, like, I mean, he opened the eyes of some people into the suit industry and how sharp suits can be. But it just wasn't comparable to realistic amounts for stores like us to stock them.
It's interesting because everybody, he has that saying where he likes to was it, whoop ass and look good, you know.
Yeah.
He has that saying, and like, to be fair, everybody and all the young fellas around, you know, the 17, 18-year-olds that think they are McGregor, they all want the suits, they all want to look fresh, and they all want to do what he does. But like you said, it's all about money. You know,
Yeah.
you might want
Like,
a Ferrari, but you can only afford a Fiesta, like, you know.
yeah, but and there's nothing wrong with the Fiesta. Like, that's the thing. You know, if you crash your Fiesta, it's going to cost you an awful lot less than it is if you crashed your Ferrari.
Oh, amen to
So,
that. Yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
look, McGregor excelled. He's done exceptionally well for himself, and you know, he's been great to some people, and that's all fantastic. But he's in such a minority of the world. You know, nobody else is really going to achieve, or not many people are ever going to achieve what he's achieved. So,
nah, not a chance. I loved looking at your Facebook page the other day. One of your hobbies is joining gyms and then not going.
my was that Facebook or Instagram, one or the other. Yeah, so I went through a phase a few years ago of joining gyms like there was no tomorrow. I at one time, I think I was a member of 4 different commercial gyms, paying the annual sub, and then I was paying a guy, Coach's Fitness, to go do some personal training one-on-one, not going to the gyms at all. So yeah, like I trained with another coach down in Cork weightlifting club, Mike O'Leary. And like Mike's a big, strong power lifter. You know, it kind of like after about 6 sessions with him, he was like, "What are you eating?" So I laughed and I was like, "Watch, I was living on takeaway. You know, I was joining gyms, eating takeaway."
Yeah.
Farcical. Yeah.
Doing everything you shouldn't have been doing while doing what you were supposed to do. Like.
Yeah.
That's,
you know,
that's the McGregor look.
I think that, but I'm one of these people that I think, you know, if I join the gym, I might go. And if I don't join the gym, I'm not going to go. So I join thinking, for sure, I might go now. And I never do. I joined the local hotel in Carrigaline Court Hotel. I joined their leisure centre. Went in, paid, joined, you know, filled in the form. And they said to me, "Are you using it today?" So I said, no, like, I'll come back. I never stepped foot inside it, ever.
Yeah, no, there's many a person that has done that. It's
the feel good factor of having the little fob on your keychain. You know, that like I'm a member of a gym.
You could get them from Tesco's and Super Value too.
I have them too. Yeah, them too.
It doesn't mean that you're healthy, but you can still get them.
Yeah.
But you like running marathons. You've done quite a few marathons.
No, I haven't. I've done some walking and I've done legs of marathons and stuff. I'm too big to run. I can't. Like I've done a few 5K races. Connor here is into his marathon running. He went to Malaga. So Connor was into his marathon running a couple of years ago. I made a deal with him because he's quite a good runner.
Yeah.
So I said to him, if you can run a sub 3-hour marathon, which is phenomenal to do, I'll run a marathon. So his time started going down. You know, I mean, he was at kind of 3:22 and he went to 3:11 and then he went to 3:05, I think. So I was getting a little bit nervous looking around and he booked last December. He booked Malaga and he kind of gave me the wink and the nod and he was like, you know, it's coming. So I booked flights. I booked flights and I went out and I watched him and he did it in fucking 2:57. So I booked Malaga for this December coming.
Yeah.
Because I was going to start training in January. It's now the middle of June and I'm actually heavier than I was in January. So I might book it for, you know, December next year and see.
Yeah, that's going to be a bet you're going to lose, my friend. What was the forfeit on that?
I can go. There's no time limit on my marathon, so right. I've done a 45-mile walking race. No, it was actually 85 mile. I did 45 of it, so I know I could go out now and I could walk 26.2 miles. It will take me forever, but I'll do it. So if that's what I need to do to keep my end of the bargain, that's what I do. But I would prefer to jog it. Now, even if it takes me 5 hours or 5.5 hours, you know, I would still prefer to have some bit of self-respect left when I finish, and at least jog the last half a mile, you know, and fall over the line.
Not look like you're crawling out of a pub or something like that, you know, on your hands and knees.
Yeah.
That's an interesting bet, man. I'm gonna have to keep forward on that one, like.
Maybe you should come and do it with me.
Not a chance, man.
Then we can do another live broadcast from
the end
finish line. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
And we're all like, you know,
hand the mic over to somebody else.
Just get 2 other people there and we just pad out in the heat. No, man, I'm no good in heat. I'm a typical Irish man. I just love overcast weather with a small bit of heat. If I can wear a t-shirt,
Yeah,
I'm happy.
so
Like, I don't
like
deal well in heat. Like,
everyone's going on about how blessed we were with the weather for March, April, and May during this lockdown, and how fantastic it was. I was fucking miserable. Jesus, I couldn't go into my back garden. My wife was like, "Let's have a barbecue tonight," and I was like, "When the sun goes down, I'll go out the back garden." I was afraid of bursting into flames. It was awful.
I'm the same, man.
God,
All I have to do is look at it, and I just turn into like a well done chicken, like, do you know. But
yeah,
not
no,
that golden brown chicken, or not that nicely barbecued chicken. I'm like one of them chickens that's just been annihilated with a laser, like, you know, just the smoke
nice. Yeah, yeah,
starts coming up out of it, like, you know. Yeah,
yeah.
that is me. That is, yeah. So come here, you got to tell us how bow ties or ties. What is the deal with them?
Um, it swings and roundabouts. So, like, I mean, it goes one way for the season and then it goes back again. It depends on the demographic. McGregor launched bow ties a little bit. I had a guy come into the shop when McGregor burst onto the scene wearing a bow tie, and he said to me, "I want the McGregor thing." So I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "The McGregor, the thing McGregor wears." And I was like, "What? Like a bow tie?" And he went, "Yeah, that." And I was like, you do realize that these are around forever. Like, you know, this is like McGregor
It's just
didn't
the beginning
invent
of
this.
time, like,
The
yeah.
first time he had ever heard of it or come across it, he thought McGregor invented it. So
Oh
yeah, I mean, it depends.
God.
Like socially, if I'm going to a wedding, I'll probably wear a bow tie because we wear ties a lot at work. So you know, for me, it's a change. Men's grooming and styling has actually killed bow ties a little bit. This phase we've gone through over the last couple of years of beards.
Yes.
There's no point in wearing a bow tie if you have a big bushy beard because you don't see the bow tie. So then you
Well,
just
yeah.
see an awful lot of empty shirt underneath it. So it depends on individual styling and that kind of thing. Like last season coming into this year, ties have been more popular. But then with that said, the devs and grad season that should be on now, you have that 17 and 18-year-old age group who would be slightly more inclined to go with bow ties. But we
The bow
won't know
tie is
about that now.
classical for the Debs, though, isn't it? Like, it's
Um,
typical the tux
yeah,
look,
but
like.
see, well, not anymore. So those days, the days of renting a black tuxedo and wearing a red bow tie to match a red dress, they're gone.
Really?
Yeah, completely. You see, what you have is, not everyone, granted, but a lot of guys, they're going into college or they're going into work placements and that kind of thing. So rather than renting a suit or even buying a black suit, they're buying suits that they'll wear again. So they're buying the nice French navies or the charcoal greys, the slate colors, the little subtle checks, that kind of thing. They're wearing them to the devs. They might put on some neckwear to match the dress color if they need to, if they're going down that kind of date matchy look. But they're buying suits that they'll get use out of, be it throughout college or throughout work. So from a cost point of view, it makes way more sense. You know, rather than spending 1,800 quid renting something, they're spending 200 quid on a suit that they have and they can wear multiple times. So in the long run, it's saving them money.
It's getting a lot easier to wear a suit, though. Do you know, it's becoming like, do you know, like you buy a 3-piece suit, and years ago is you had to wear the 3-piece suit. Now you can buy the 3-piece suit and wear a pair of jeans, a pair of shoes, and the waistcoat.
Yeah.
Or you can pull off just a jacket with a pair of shoes and a pair of jeans. Do you know what I mean? Like a 3-piece suit isn't formal anymore to a certain degree. Like,
yeah, like, I mean, if you look at we've a separate Facebook page for the Killarney store, and Audie, one of the guys down there, very, very, you know, fashionista kind of guy, really stylish. He did a video a couple of months ago. And we just took a nice French navy suit and we put together 7 different looks and outfits using the same suit. You know, so you add the jeans or the chinos or, you know, a little a round neck jumper inside the jacket, that kind of thing. But then suits themselves have changed as well. So rather than suits coming in as a hanging 3-piece set, you'll see some of them on the wall here behind me. They're completely separate items. So they're all on individual hangers. So you can just buy the jacket of one and you can buy a trousers of another and that kind of thing. So, again, slightly more expensive for us to buy them in individually. But if you want the jacket, but you don't want the matching waistcoat, you know, you want a contrast waistcoat, obviously you can just mix and match all of these. So it makes it an awful lot easier from a shopping point of view.
But yeah, like I said, it gives you great use now. You know, like the suit and the 3-piece suit has become almost, like you said, fashionable. You know, it's great. And you can get so much more use out of your suit than it was like years ago when you go, Jesus, look at your man. Where's he going? Was he at a funeral or was he at a wedding or was he at court? Like,
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But like, that's the styling of suits and the fit of suits has changed so like, I mean, even since I've been in the industry, it's like 2007 would have been my first punt at suiting. it's changed completely. Like back then, it was plain black, plain grey, plain charcoal, plain navy, oversized, baggy, ill-fitting, long legs, big baggy hips. There were no subtle check patterns. There were no real nice tweed fabrics coming in. And anybody that had the kind of the check suits and the tweeds and the little surface detail fabrics, they were all really expensive and custom made. You know, that kind of idea. Like suits used to be 600 quid for a relatively basic polyester black suit. Those days are long gone. You know, now, I mean, like you get a decent quality suit for kind of around 179 euro, 3-piece pants, jacket, waistcoat. And it's the interest that people have. People are that little bit more into their image and how things, how they're portrayed and how people see them. So suits fit better. So it doesn't, like, you can take the nicest looking suit in the world, if it, you know, on a hanger. If it doesn't fit you, it's awful looking.
Yeah.
Whereas you can take a plain grey suit. If it fits you well, it looks really sharp and it looks the part. So, you know, it's not just a case of finding a nice suit on a hanger. It's about how it's fitted to you.
Yeah, no, fact. And like, you are only as good as a suit that fits you, you know, and only one suit will fit you properly. You can't go take your brother's suit and expect it to fit you as well as him. Like,
no,
you know, it's very, you can't take your dad's jacket there and throw it on you and say, Jesus, this is my dad's jacket. Do you know what I mean? Because there's nothing there's nothing better than a good fitted suit, but there's nothing worse than a bad fitted suit
absolutely.
either. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
it'll absolutely kill your look. Like if it's a bad fitting suit, that's it. Forget it. You might as well be naked, I think, in my mind, if you have a bad suit on you, because everyone's looking at you anyway. So you might as well just have your boxers on.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's why the wedding industry over the years has changed as well, and it's moved away from rentals and it's moving towards everyone. Well, not everyone, but an awful lot of people are buying their outfits, and it's because they can all be tailored. Like if you rent something, you'll get something that kind of fits but isn't quite right, or whatever's available. You know, it's given to you. It's not necessarily the shop's fault. It all comes down to availability. Mm-hmm. Whereas at least if you're buying them, you're fitted and measured. Stuff is ordered in. You're brought in for an actual fitting, and then things are tailored and adjusted for each individual member of the wedding party. Now, you know, back in 2012, 2013, when we started trying to do this, you know, you hit a brick wall sometimes. They're going, but why would, like, we can rent them? Why would we buy them? And our answer was always, why don't you go rent them where you're renting the bridesmaids' dresses? Yeah. And then they look at you and they're kind of going, we're not renting brides. And you're going, yeah, so you're buying the dresses, you're tailoring the dresses, you're paying for a hairstylist and a makeup artist, and you'll buy them a handbag and some jewelry and some shoes and all, and then you're trying to save a few quid by renting suits versus buying them and having them tailored. And you know, it opens their eyes that now some people just ignore you. You meet them anyway.
You can't teach stupid.
Well, you said that, not me.
I get away with
it. So the industry it's migrating towards, you know, people buying their wedding outfits and stuff. Now, obviously, great for us because we don't do rentals; we only do purchase. There's a couple of shops in the city do both. And then there's a shop or two in the city only do rentals. But over the last kind of 12 or 18 months, they're moving into sales now as well, because that's the way the industry is going.
And then they're going to be like, you know, when those are the days where you could just jump in. Like, even when I go back, I'm 32 now, and I go back to my Deb's days, which is 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and it was all rentals, you know?
Yeah.
You can see even in my lifetime, like you said there a minute ago, like how suits have changed over the years. It's fascinating. Like, is the general public getting more educated on what a suit should look like, rather than just putting on a suit? You know, like the term the monkey suit. Oh, I better get a monkey suit. You know, like I think there's a lot more emphasis on the suits. Like you see the McGregors, you see the footballers, you see them all wearing a sharp looking suit. Like there's something a bit more classy than a well.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can go back to was it Liverpool a couple of decades ago, in, you know, that famous picture of them in their cream white baggy suits that looked absolutely horrendous, and they weren't cheap suits at the time either. So yeah, people are more focused on how it fits them. They're more focused on how other people will think it fits. They're more interested in their own image and their own styling. But suits are more usable today than they ever were.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, today is a bad example. 3.5 months ago, suits were more usable than they ever were, because you can now go to the pub on a Friday or Saturday night, you know, in an open collar shirt and your check suit jacket over a pair of jeans or chinos. You know, you get that bit of usage out of formal wear that we were never really getting years back. So yeah, I mean, more people are buying suits because more people are wearing suits to more events and occasions. Now, like obviously, you always had your weddings and your bits and pieces. You had that occasion to wear a suit, but now it's, date night. Guys are putting on suits. Tinder is probably responsible for a huge amount of suit purchases as well. The amount of first dates that people go on now, because I know a guy, he goes on a first date twice a week.
Buys a new suit, hopefully.
He wears something different every time, So there's always something to warrant a nice suit.
That's so he won't get seen in the same suit twice. He won't be spotted in the pub he goes to every night. Yeah, but no, like we were saying, man, they're so universal now, which is fantastic for you guys, because it's always nearly the 3-piece now that gets sold. Is it regularly? Do you break them up much?
Depending on the customer, obviously from a business point of view, because about half of our business, half of the trade we do is businessmen. They're wearing suits to work. So unless they're really a barrister, they're not wearing waistcoats. It's just a mix and match pants and jacket kind of idea. But from the younger point of view, 3-piece are very popular. Matching waistcoats are quite classic looking. That they've always been around. They're always going to be around. But the contrast waistcoat, a matching pants and jacket, but a different pattern and color waistcoat, has been a huge feature for the last 6 or 8 months. And looking into the rest of this year, into next year's wedding trends, that's still going to hold true.
It's going to hold true. Like who'd be a great example of that? Now I'm trying to think. McGregor would have been, because he's done it. He's done that. He's made his waistcoat stand out as if it's a centerpiece. Yeah, you're not the jacket or the trousers. It's the centerpiece of the waistcoat.
It's hard to pick out one person, because so many people are doing it. You look at any of the fashion runways in Paris and Milan, any formal wear.
I'm not that cultured now, boy. Come here, no.
It's contrast. Now it's not necessarily a contrast waistcoat. You'll get some guys with roll neck jumpers and turtlenecks inside. That kind of idea. But the inside layer is typically now something different. Now that's fine for social wear. It's not okay for workwear. It doesn't make sense to rock up to an interview in a high fashion contrast suit. It's depending on the industry. But there were some major finance companies a couple of years ago sent out memos to all their staff that they were not allowed to wear blue suits and tan shoes coming to work. Things eventually become so commonplace, so fashion orientated, that everybody owns them, and then it dates faster than it ever should.
That electric blue color.
Yeah, the shiny ones. Yeah, God, they were awful.
Hi, Anna. I think that was the first suit I bought from you, one of them electric blue ones, all the way back, 6 or 7 years ago?
No, we never had the really shiny ones.
Not the really shiny one. That was fair.
The beauty about opening when we opened kind of towards the tail end of the recession in 2012. So we were a brand new shop. We were two relatively young guys. I was 29. We were young guys going in. So we had a more modern take on fashion. We didn't already have a stock room full of stuff for the last 3 or 4 years. So everything we had was up-to-date styling. So we never really bought into these shiny suits, because they were coming to the end of their lifetime anyway. The electric blue died down into slightly more matte finish. You still had the odd fashion orientated kind of petrol sheen finish to it, but not the ones that you could see your reflection in.
You could actually do your hair in them, in the bathroom, just in case you didn't have a mirror.
You would have been fine. You could have just held out your jacket and combed.
Straight down, not a bother on it. Right, my brother, we've kept you late. You've got some Father's Day deals on, don't you? This Sunday.
Yeah. So look, again, because people are almost afraid to come to the shop and stuff and spend time here shopping, we're just topping up vouchers. That's the main one. We still have all we do a smart casual range as well as formal range, but we're topping up all the vouchers this weekend. So if you buy a voucher, we're topping it up by 20% of the value of it. So if you buy €100 voucher, the voucher's worth 120 quid.
Hang on a second. Yeah, we're back. No, we just lost you there for a second. You're topping up the vouchers?
Topping up the vouchers by 20%. So if you buy a €100 voucher, it's valued at 120 then when it's redeemed.
Oh, fair play. So, that's serious value, though, to be fair.
But look, hopefully it drums up that little bit of footfall for us as well, as the summer moves on.
Yeah, it will. Right, we must let you go, brother, because I know you have to go home to the wife and kids. You can't be using us as an excuse now to stay.
I can stay.
You can't be using an excuse now to stay till 12 o'clock tonight saying the interview went on this long. Right, we're clocking it now. It's 8 o'clock.
I'm hoping she's not watching it so I can just stay out.
Yeah, it went for ages. He just kept fucking talking shit. I couldn't get away from him. He was too nice.
So we'll just pretend you edited 4 hours down.
Yeah,
into
I
one.
did.
Yeah, okay. Good.
That's what we'll do. Yeah. 1 o'clock. Promise. You'll be out the door by 1 o'clock. I promise. Right. What we have to do. I can't even talk now. What we do for all our guests, right? We have them answer 10 questions in 30 seconds, but they're very
Jesus.
simple. They're very simple questions, right? They're rapid fire questions. Everybody gets the same questions, right? So I got to do a montage at the end of the year, if I'm still doing this at the end of the year, if I haven't been kicked off complete Facebook. But yeah, thanks for your little fellas watching all our kiddies discos. I hope they enjoyed them, like we were saying before.
They did. Yeah.
So we might get back at it soon. Who knows? If I can build my own platform, maybe we'll see. If I can. Right, Andrew Rea of Simply Suit. You're not a relative of your man who driving home for Christmas, no? Does that ever get said to you? No claim to the money, no royalties.
No claim to the royalties. No.
Damn it, that'd have been a good one, wouldn't it? Once a year, just getting a massive check, be nice. Actually, yeah. I was looking at was it last year or the year before? Mariah Carey makes $500,000 a year just from the royalties from Christmas week to New Year's. $500,000 a year just from the amount of times her song is played.
That's all right, isn't it?
And she sings then maybe once or twice, or tries to sing once or twice in and around the time, and she makes another probably fucking 5 million from that too. So yeah,
she'll be catching up with you soon with that income level.
yeah, and not just up at the attic in the middle of fucking nowhere, hoping that nothing jumps out behind me with my headphones on, or herself doesn't come out and tell me to shut up because I wake up the small one. But yeah, we'll be trying. Right, we're nearly up to. We got to wait for 51:40 and we're going to go, right? So you got to be very fast with these questions. Okay.
What kind of questions are they?
You'll hear them. Don't worry. It's just not hard. It's not leaving cert. Don't worry. There's no points for it. So don't worry. Right. Here we go. Phone call or text message?
Phone call.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, Wedding Crashers.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
10.
Strangest place you've made a phone call?
Strangest place I've made a what?
A phone call.
Jesus, I don't know. Car park? Don't know.
A person who you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
Oh, my grandfather.
Your grandfather? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Ketchup in the fridge or outside the fridge?
Ketchup in the fridge.
You have the choice to live forever or have the power of invisibility.
Oh, invisibility.
Do you eat soup or drink it?
You eat soup.
And what is the one thing that annoys you the most in the world, Andrew, from Simply Suits?
Questions that I'm not prepared for.
Such as this.
Such as this, yeah.
My brother, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
You.
We'll let you get home to the wife and kids. Best of luck with it. And if anything we can do, we'll let you know. And it's about time I bought a new suit. So I will be up to you. And we'll you hook me up as always.
Perfect. Great stuff. Thanks for having me.
My brother, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mind yourself.
Frozen in this moment, the last, and I know it. Think about the winners with hands with the coldest. Think about handouts, shit, you're still growing. Think about the world, how we didn't even notice. We became